Joining us now, 2nd District Republican Congressman. That's the Virginia Beach and Norfolk and Newport News area of Virginia, Scott Rigell. Congressman Rigell, it's always an honor to have you on, sir. Thank you.
John, it's really a pleasure to be on. Congratulations on the expansion of your audience into the Richmond market. I'm not at all surprised by this, and I know they'll enjoy it. And I think really, truly be better informed Virginians and Americans because of it. So congratulations. And I love the line, is it commander of common sense? That's all good.
Well, that's me, and I appreciate that so much. We got a lot to cover today. I have to start with children coming over the southern border of the United States unabated. Nobody seems to be able to stop it. I asked Congressman Hurt the other day, why don't we just send in the National Guard and stop it? He says, I don't have any idea. What's the deal?
John, our president, sadly, and to the great frustration of so many, and I think really to the harm of our country, he drifts in so many areas, from foreign policy, ambiguous statements, lack of clarity, lack of a clear and compelling vision backed up by sound and defined policy. We have the same here with respect to immigration. His nuanced messages that he's been sending as it relates to immigration has directly caused what's happening down there. We'll process probably 60,000 and perhaps 90,000 adolescents, and I'm confident, and I don't think there's any question here, that the president's ambiguity on this and implied easing of the ability to become an American citizen and things like this, it's hurt us. It's hurt our nation. It certainly has hurt those border towns and the entire region. It's not good.
Well, it's not, and it almost feels like the President Obama is accepting this, almost encouraging it. Promises of amnesty, promises of not sending anyone home. We've now got interviews where moms are coming with children saying, hey, I was told by my government if I could just get to the U.S., I'd be taken care of. I wouldn't be turned away. Now we find out that Eric Holder has hired about 100 new attorneys to represent these illegals in their fight to stop them from being sent home. So let me get this straight. Our tax dollars are going to clothe and shelter and give medical assistance to the people that come in illegally. They've broken the law. Now our tax dollars are going to go to lawyers to defend their right to stay. How the hell does this make any sense?
It doesn't. I'd say he's done a profound disservice to these young people. He has disrupted their lives, separated the children from their parents, and the truth that we're dealing with here, John, is that our nation is at a pivotal point, and there are two profoundly different visions for America. There is common ground. You and I have talked about that many times. I've searched for it diligently because it must be done. We are first and foremost Americans before we're members of one party or another.
Right.
That said, these differences are profound. And I think we have a president here that that through manipulative ways, ways that skirt and at times clearly exceed his congressional authority. I mean, that is the constitutional authority. He's just pushed these boundaries, and it has really terrible results. And we in the House, John, we are the only line of defense right now. And our conference, our Republican conference, and the majority in the House, I've talked freely about where we've fallen short, but I am so proud of our conference in so many areas that we've reduced federal spending to 2009 levels on discretionary side. That wouldn't have happened but for us. The things that we are doing, we are the check and the balance, and that's stating it mildly. Really, we're like just getting in front of a Mack truck and stopping it just out of almost sheer will, or doing everything we can. But we have one half of one-third of the federal government. We are in the minority here in Washington. This is the political reality, and it's very difficult. It's very frustrating. We've got to get a majority in the Senate, a Republican majority in the Senate, and as soon as we can, that next election cycle rolls around, we have to elevate a principled, conservative Republican, one who is a true leader, to service at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Well, hopefully that will come to pass. This is the John Fredericks Show. We're with Republican Congressman from the Virginia Beach area, Scott Rigell. Congressman, I want to shift over to the Internal Revenue Service now. It's really maddening to have the director of the IRS come in front of a congressional committee, can't find any of the emails, sent to people, doesn't know if Lois Lerner had a BlackBerry or an iPhone, can't find that. I mean, the average person on the street, if I had to go in front of the Internal Revenue Service and told them that I didn't have any of the receipts because my server crashed, they'd lock me up. What's the deal here?
That is not an acceptable answer to the IRS from the outside. I mean, going out to the common, hardworking American citizen. Look, at my little office in Virginia Beach, we have redundancy built in. We do use a cloud service. I think virtually everyone is now, or they're moving toward it. But I also have instructed our staff there, not on the congressional side, we do that as well on the congressional side, but on the personal corporate side, I make sure that we have a redundant backup, because I'm thinking, man, everything's on this cloud. If it goes down, we are done. Mm-hmm. And so for that reason, I have an independent hard drive, that we back these things up, completely independent of the cloud, the storage system there. And for these senior people that are making, tier one levels on the executive grade scale, for them to come in and to lay out this type of malfeasance, mismanagement, being so ineffectual in their duties, it doesn't comport with common sense. And John, my political service, my public service for 3.5 years, we have got so much harshness and so much just piling on. I don't want to be just one more shrill, harsh voice. But when you look at the facts and you think, I'll try to give the benefit of the doubt. They're owed that. I mean, it's on the margin. We're not sure. Look, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Mm-hmm. But the evidence, the cumulative evidence, John, just makes it to where I could not accept at face value what they're saying, which is a nice way of saying they're not speaking the truth, in my view.
Mm-hmm. It's a tough proposition to defend that the most critical emails they can't find from either Lois Lerner sending them or for the people receiving them. It's a tough one. It's a tough one, Congressman Rigell, for the average guy out there like me or Ken Johnson to fathom. I mean, it's just it's beyond even.
And John,
what you could explain.
Here's the unfortunate truth, but the reality that we are facing up here, the 233 of us or so that are in the Republican conference here in the House, is that it seems like, if not every week, about every 2 or 3 weeks, there's something that in normal times would be considered a tier one issue.
Right.
I mean, fully deserving of Congress's full attention. But these things keep coming at us one after another, and it really stretches the bandwidth of this institution to move. Just the inherent difficulty of getting an institution with 435 people to pivot is really tough. When this whole thing came down about the president's release of the 5 senior Taliban commanders from Guantanamo without making even the partial effort to comply with the law, my first thought was, Mr. President, oh no, I wasn't looking for this fight, but he took that action, and that's why we're leading an initiative in the House that would expressly condemn this and disapprove of it, so it doesn't become precedent for future presidents to rely upon.
Now,
hard work, but
the action that the president took a couple of weeks ago in making this Bo Bergdahl trade for 5 basically Taliban terrorists without notifying anyone. I know, as you're saying, you're trying to bring some accountability to this. What type of success have you had with your colleagues with that, sir?
Well, I'd say moderate, and I think we're right on the cusp of getting this thing to the House floor. I hope so. I mean, this is really, today is a critical point. We're working very closely with the new majority leader, Kevin McCarthy, to get this to the floor. You know, when I see my colleagues express, frustration, disappointment, really even anger at the president ignoring the law, I think, well, that's appropriate, but we've got to take the next step. John, I've been telling our leadership, for a few years when President Obama came into office, you could just, complain about what he was doing or critique it or, just point out where he was deficient. Everybody understood that. Now, I can tell you, when I go back to the 2nd District of Virginia, this incredible district that I have the privilege to serve, home to more men and women in uniform of any of the 435 districts, very thoughtful district, a hard-spirited district, you can't get away. Not that I'm trying to, but you can't simply say the president's doing this and doing that. You know what hardworking Americans are saying? And Democrats, thoughtful Democrats, they'll look right at you, John, and they'll say, and what are you doing about it?
Mm-hmm.
See, we're at a different place here, and we should be as a nation. And that's why I brought this resolution would be the official repudiation and condemnation of what the president did. It builds our tackle box, if you will, our toolbox of making sure that this can't become precedent. When he completely ignored the law, Secretary Hagel got before us in the House Armed Services Committee, and he said, look, what happened was a breach of trust with Congress. Yeah, it was that, and it was also breaking the law in my view. The 30-day notification is not perfunctory, John. It's not just checking off a box. There is many things that we have to do in our oversight role to ensure that he's not unnecessarily placing the American people at risk. So the Secretary and I had a spirited, sharp, respectful exchange on this.
Mm-hmm.
We have different views, and I'm hopeful that I can come on the show in maybe a couple of weeks and tell you that my Republican colleagues felt as strongly about this as I do.
Why would anyone not jump on the resolution that you're trying to get done? Because it's the law. This is what people don't understand. It's the law. The president simply didn't follow the law like everyone else has to follow. Why wouldn't every colleague you have jump on it?
John, I really believe they would if I can get it to the floor. It's a little hard to explain, and frankly, I'm not justifying it here. Listen, I'm not justifying. I'm just giving you the from one American to another, real world, what's going on up here. When you send a businessman like myself up here, no legislative experience, in 3.5 years, here's where we are.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get the attention of leadership, trying to elevate, what I'm trying to do and say, look, this is really best for our conference.
Right.
I really worked hard, John. I got a couple of Democrats to sign on. That wasn't easy.
Right.
Then I got Chairman Buck McKeon, the chairman of House Armed Services. It's the committee of jurisdiction, because I knew if I went to leadership, the first thing they'd say is, well, where's the committee on this? So
right.
I got that thing checked. And now I'm working on a few others, some senior members, but we're right on the cusp of getting this done. It just takes hard work, and I'm trying to help our conference understand that we've got to do more than simply point out the president's deficiencies. We need to pivot as quickly as this institution can to get meaningful legislation to the floor each time that he's outside of his constitutional lane.
Mm-hmm.
And that is not easy. Look, we could pivot over to Iraq. My point is this: the president has a duty and the authority to protect American lives there in Iraq. And I expect him to do that in his role as a commander-in-chief. But to go beyond that, I truly believe he has no constitutional authority to engage U.S. troops. The authorization for use of military force, he said himself earlier that he thought that it ought to be rescinded. He said that the war's over. So did, essentially President Bush. And look, I think it requires authorization to escalate the use of force in Iraq. And like I said, there's lots of things to talk about this morning. We're probably running out of time, but I appreciate the opportunity to cover these things.
We've got a couple more minutes, 7:55. We're with Congressman Scott Rigell, a Republican from the 2nd District of Virginia. Congressman Rigell, the deteriorating situation in Iraq right now, what do you think we ought to do?
Well, John, it is a terribly complex situation, and if I thought that the use of military force would increase U.S. security, not only would I not oppose it, I'd call for it. But in my view, this conflict, which goes back, 1,400 years or so,
right,
back to the death of Muhammad, this is a war that has been ongoing, a sectarian war, and I am convinced that there's not enough clarity on the ground, and I really think it's proper. And let me say here, I think that the president would be wise in not engaging U.S. forces at this time. We certainly have an interest in security in the region, but I do not see how engaging U.S. forces is going to advance our security. One thing we can't allow this administration to do is to allow the U.S. Air Force or Navy flights to become, the de facto Air Force of some, Shiite and Shia militias.
Right.
I mean, that's not going to work.
All right. We're out of time. We want to thank Congressman Scott Rigell for being with us today. You want more information? It's real easy. You can go to scottrigell.com. That's scottrigell.com. And Congressman, I really want to get you back on, if I can, early next week to track the progress you've made on this Taliban trade because, again, back to the average guy in the street, I mean, this is very troublesome to many of us.
I'm with you. And listen, I appreciate not only the accountability of coming back on, but the opportunity to connect with fellow hardworking Americans, whether they're conservative, liberal, whatever. I mean, we need to communicate more what we're doing and how we're serving. And I thank you for the opportunity and the good work you're doing, John. Thank you.